Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the failed Blockbusters Retrospective. It's
How do
season
you
2.
know it's morning?
Well, I'm uploading in the morning, so I'm assuming these people are going to be listening to it in the morning. Maybe you're not. Maybe
they
you're
could
listening.
be. They could be listening at night.
Yeah, maybe you like listening to it while you work out or you drive home from work or on a walk.
Is there anything more demotivating than this show for a workout?
I don't know. 6 hours of JFK.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that will make you think about other things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the failed Blockbusters. We're back. We're here to talk about Tommy Boy, starring Chris Farley, which I had not seen before this show.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be talking about a lot of other stuff too. You and I have been kind of mulling over our final decisions about what we're going to talk about for this season. And I have this will be out by the time this episode goes up. But I've been trying to assemble like this collage of posters to be like, here, this is what we're doing this season. And it's like, it's changed like 3 times.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, let's keep swapping that one out.
I think we have the final grouping. I think at this point, like the train's leaving the station. Like, let's just go with what we have.
Yeah. And it's a good run of stuff. As of this recording, we don't actually even know what the next episode is.
Yeah, we'll probably decide on that at the very end. How about you get one of those like random number generators? And because you have a list, you sent me the list.
I do, yeah.
And then
you go random number generator.
Yeah. And then we'll just randomly pick what's going to be next at the end of the episode.
Okay. We're doing 11 total. Just pick number 5.
Oh, all right. What's 5?
This is the Tommy Boy retrospective. That is. Oh wait, hang on. I didn't change one of the things. Well, it doesn't matter. Right now it's Miami Vice.
Okay, we can do. Well, we just did the Insider though.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. We're doing Miami Vice at some point.
It's 5. You said.
Yeah.
Cross Tommy Boy off. Let's go to what? So 5 becomes 6. That's North.
Oh no.
So the next one's gonna be North.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I also have not seen North.
Roger Ebert's probably the most hated film Roger Ebert ever saw.
That's amazing because that dude saw a lot of fucking movies.
He did. You know what? There's one other movie that him and Siskel hated even more. I will not say the title because I think we could do it for failed award season next time.
Okay.
And it is one of the most inexplicable movies that has ever been made. And I really want to do it, not just because of that, but because I found on archive.org an interview the director did, which is one of the most infuriating things I have ever read, of just like overconfidence. For a guy who like never made another movie after this terrible film. But
you know what I will say, we always talk about a lot of the filmmaking and production and the marketing processes with like how it feels like a lot of stuff's been very neutered in terms of like artistic integrity or like artist interviews or profiles for magazines or websites. One thing I do admire is that like very few people come out with their fucking dick swinging like I'm the greatest fucking shit ever.
Yeah.
Now I do want that a little bit once in a while. Mm-hmm. It's nice that it's not like fucking all the time.
Yeah. I think there's probably a good and bad way to do it.
Yeah.
You know who hated this movie?
Roger
Ebert.
Oh.
He gave Tommy Boy 1 star.
Tommy Boy, this quote. Yeah.
Tommy Boy is one of those movies that plays like an explosion down at the screenplay factory.
Oh.
You can almost picture the bewildered office boy, his face smudged with soot, wandering through the ruins and rescuing pages at random. Too bad they didn't mail them to the insurance company instead of filming them.
The film is on Ebert's most hated list.
Wow, that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Because it's I love this movie. I guess I'll just throw that out there. And even if you don't like this movie, it is definitely not the worst movie Chris Farley ever did. Like there's a lot of contenders.
Are we going to talk about Beverly Hills Ninja finally?
Oh my God. Did you ever see Beverly Hills Ninja?
No, I still haven't seen it. It was on Netflix, and I said I think I was going to watch it at one point, and I was like, you know what?
There are some moments in it because Farley is just like such a like command of like comedic talent, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of it's very much like it's the sad. It's what this I think people think this movie is, and what this movie isn't, which is just like Chris Farley. He's a fat guy. Let's watch him like bumble around for 90 minutes. You know, that's what a lot of that movie is. Oh my God. Oh. Go to the Wikipedia page for Beverly Hills Ninja and look at the poster.
Kung Fu.
Oh,
that's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. It's a bad movie, and I think that's like the last one he did before he died. Like 2 were released after.
Oh,
but and it's also like you can kind of see like that his lifestyle's like he looks tired in Beverly Hills Ninja a lot of the time, which is like why we would never do that. Yeah, it's so sad. It's so sad. It's like, you know, this is his first leading movie, and he does like 3 at like in his life, and then 1 is released after, and then he has a cameo in Dirty Work as Jimmy No Nose. But yeah, it's one of those things where you wonder like what would have happened with Farley, you know. It's him and Belushi like have that great what ifs. You know?
Yeah. I'll give my take on the movie now then, because I think I've been pretty hard with the Happy Madison productions we've gone over for and
this
for
is
Happy Amblin.
This is the Happy Madison movie. Like the whole formula of what every Happy Madison movie will be is in this movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and this is also kind of our make good on not returning to Happy Amblin yet. But I will say I actually like this movie too.
Yeah.
And I think Chris Farley is incredible. And here's the thing: the jokes themselves aren't like remarkable. That dude just had such energy and commitment.
I know.
It's like you could get another actor doing this movie, and it's fucking just obnoxious or something. But you know what else this movie like made me realize that I kind of miss is like these really simplistic studio comedies that aren't just shuffled off to Netflix and made on the cheap.
Yeah.
So people can like riff back and forth. And like, I'm sure there was some riffing in this movie,
well,
given that it stars comedians, you know.
We'll talk about like how the comedy of this was developed, but you know, you're right on the money. I think I blame Every Frame of Painting for this. When he did that video on Ed You're Right and like how to do visual comedy, right? Like he did that, and then it's like, look at how lazy like a lot of modern comedies are, and blah blah blah. And like, look, he had a point, like yes, but I think like as film nerds, we've all kind of embraced like, why does this comedy not look like cinema? You know, like we do that a lot of the time. And I'm like, there is a value to the comedy film that it's not spectacularly made, but it is designed to show off the comedic talent at the center of it, you know?
Yeah. And what's that one saying? Like sometimes the most interesting thing you could photograph is like the human face, right? And Chris Farley has a very fucking interesting face.
Oh,
like, what do you want? You know?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
And this is like the perfect vehicle for him, you know? And it's also a thing where like his next movie is like Black Sheep, which is not a great movie, but it's very much like, what if instead of Chris Farley as a salesman, we did Chris Farley as a campaign manager, you know? Like it's very similar energy. Like so clearly they were figured out like this is what Farley's energy is going to be. And I'm sure we would have gotten like 20 other films like Tommy Boy had Chris Farley hung around, but there's something special about this one, I think. And not in that way of like when we're doing the fucking Adam Sandler stuff. And there's something special to some of his earlier stuff where he's like clearly trying a lot of weird things. But even that, I can't really sit back and go like, these are great showcases of Adam Sandler's talent, you know, like.
Yeah.
But this is this is that. And it's not just his talents as a comedian. I think it does show another side to him that like he could have been a really good actor. Like I'm not going to say there's enough evidence here to say he could have been a great actor, but I think he could have been a solid actor.
Yeah, I think he had potential, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if fucking Adam Sandler could pull out like Punch Drunk Love like a
Yeah.
couple years after this, like
Mhm.
I think anything's possible.
Well, I think the thing that hangs over it, which is like, there's the whole like Farley Belushi thing, right? Of
Mhm.
like, they're both so similar. They both die at 83. Like, there's, you watch Belushi, even on Saturday Night Live when like he's doing like his samurai character or something like that. And it's like, there's a weird thing about Belushi where you watch him and you go like, this guy isn't really a comedy actor, but like he's an actor, you know?
Mhm.
Like you got the feeling from Belushi that he could have been like a genuinely great actor. Whereas Farley, I think, was a stronger comedic presence. I think Farley had more. I think Farley, this might be controversial. I think Farley was funnier than Belushi. I think Belushi was a better performer, better actor, but I think Farley was more naturally funny than Belushi was.
Could Chris Farley have done the Belushi role in 1941?
See, you know what? He might have been able to. I think here's the only thing though. I think there's a big kid like golden boy energy to Farley that this movie taps into, you know?
Mhm.
Whereas Belushi had that grit that you kind of need for the pilot, you know?
Yeah.
Like you
Radio's
put
wrong.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I know people have been rewatching that one lately and being like, "Oh shit, this is worse than we heard." And I'm like, "Yeah, but like that bit is so good."
It's got its moments.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got its moments and none of them congeal, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem with that fucking movie. But like I can't really see Farley flying a plane, you know? Like the joke would be like Farley's on a plane and he accidentally knocks out the pilots and now he has to fly, right?
Yeah.
Like, whereas Belushi is a guy who's like, he just saw a plane and is like, I can fly that. Like, that's
Yeah.
the two different energies of those guys. But no, I'm glad to hear you liked it. You never know with a movie like this. Cause like I saw this when I was a child. So you want to know how young I was? I saw this. I'm born in 93. Farley dies in 98, 97, end of 97. I saw this when Chris Farley was still alive. So I knew I was aware when Chris Farley died because I had seen Tommy Boy.
Oh.
So, but it's one of those things of like, there's a lot of nostalgia tied into this movie for me. So I never know how I was going to play with someone who hasn't seen it, but I'm glad to hear you liked it.
Yeah. I think I was just really shocked by like it has a really sincere story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it generally commits to it. And I didn't go in expecting that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Farley can actually kind of play like the genuine like angst of the character, like, and their insecurities and being unable to be good at anything,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really sweet. And then he also is fucking hysterical every time they do a gag. Like he just
Yeah.
fucking kills.
Oh yeah. So like he's got to do. He does like his Saturday Night Live thing where like he literally just like falls on a table and breaks it.
Yeah.
And
My
it's like
favorite bit is in the airplane.
oh
And
god.
at first I was like, this is oh god, like I know what this is gonna be. I knew exactly what was gonna happen.
Wait, hold on. Which one? Because there are two airplane bits.
Okay, when he goes into the bathroom in the airplane.
Yeah. Okay.
And it I don't I
It's
knew
just
exactly what was
him.
gonna fucking happen, and it still like fucking knocked me out.
It's just him. Like they're just like Farley go in this room and get hurt. Like it's
And then at one point they do an overhead shot and he's just banging against the wall with his elbow.
yeah, and he's just like ah. And he's screaming. Also, the funny thing about it is like, all right, like so, like there's parts of it where it's like, okay, like he's slipping, he's like got his clothes caught on something for no real reason. The one thing just falls off the wall on him. Like there isn't a part where he like breaks it. Like it just falls on him. Like, and it's like when he enters a room, the energy just changes against him. Like,
Yeah,
so I gotta say,
that's
like,
amazing. You know
like,
what? Farley could have had an Uncut Gems.
he really could have. Like,
Yeah.
if you just played that, but like played it straight, like that would be a nightmare. Like,
Yeah.
if it really happened. But here's the thing, like, and I gotta say, like, we're talking about, like, it's, I'm not gonna say it's like a master class in directing, but think of it, I haven't seen that much like action in an airplane bathroom in a movie. Like, when have you seen something like that?
Yeah.
Like, it forced them to get creative a little bit. I've just been like, that overhead shot's like really good if you want to showcase what the fuck's happening in there.
And like there's a lot of discussions right now regarding like budgets of films, how much is going to like the big name stars that they have to get attached to stuff, and how much is actually going to the production of the film. That's not me absolving any of those issues, but I do think people need to start thinking more like within their range, and like what you can do with just someone in a room. You can do a lot. And Chris Farley beating up an airplane bathroom is just it was incredible.
It's just what he's built to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's also a thing of just like, he's not even the focus sometimes in some scenes, and he's the funniest thing in the fucking movie. Like,
yeah,
I think the shot that just like, it's his belief. Like, there's the famous, like, in Animal House, to go back to the Belushi thing, there's the famous, in the script it says Bluto runs up the stairs when they're like sneaking the horse into the dean's office. And then you watch the scene and it's Belushi like doing that, like dun dun, like he's like all like being like, he turns it into like a 2-minute comedic scene.
Yeah.
Of him going up the stairs, and it's like, oh, this is brilliant. Like, let's let him go loose. There's the shot in the movie where he's backed the car up and broken the door. And he's like, what the, like, he's all panicked. And they cut back to Spade arguing with the guy in the gas station. And you just see Belushi, and you just see Farley in the background, like, jump out of the car, like in a panic, like trying to figure out what to do. And it's like, this is the funniest fucking shit I've ever seen. Like,
oh, okay. Let me ask you, what are your thoughts on David Spade?
You know what? I've never had like strong opinions on him. I actually do kind of like his persona. I don't know how much of it is. I've never seen his stand up, I guess is what I'm saying.
Me neither.
Like,
I've just seen his like sitcom stuff.
Yeah, I've seen his sitcom stuff. I've seen his movie stuff. And I like the Spade persona. I think he kind of needs to be teamed with someone. Although, you know what? I've never seen Joe Dirt. And I know people that like stand by Joe Dirt.
People love Joe Dirt.
I am not
Joe one of
Dirt.
them.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I'm not picking a fight. Not for me. More power to you. Hold on to what you care about in this world, I guess. God be with you.
The only thing I know is I think it's Walken in it gives a speech where he's like, I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I know from that movie. But yeah, I did see Dickie Roberts' former child star. Did you ever see that?
I did.
That's not a great movie.
No, it's a very bad one.
It does have one kind of amazing comedy moment, though, in my opinion.
Is it the slip and slide?
No, I mean, that's funny, but that's just like, fall down and get hurt. Like,
yeah, look, we're only human. Sometimes someone falls and hurts himself, and it's fucking hilarious.
I'm going to describe a comedy scene just because I can, but it's probably the only thing we're seeing in Dickie Roberts where they have those neighbors they hate, right? And he's like needlessly mean to that lady, but whatever. Like, they're kind of obnoxious. The dog comes in one day and has killed their pet bunny rabbit, the neighbor's pet bunny rabbit. And they're like, oh my God, we're going to get in so much trouble if they find out our dog killed the rabbit. And Spade's like, no, look, here's what we do. We'll clean the dead rabbit. we'll make it clean, and we'll just put it back in the cage, and it'll look like it died of natural causes. It's like they go through the whole thing. It's like, oh, this is sick what they're doing. Like, it's fucked up. And then they put it back in the cage and leave, and they wait for them to come home. And they hear them come home and they're screaming. And they're like, wait, this is way too much of a reaction for this rabbit. And they look back over and they're like, what happened? They're like, our rabbit died 3 days ago. And we buried it over there. It's a devil rabbit. And they flee the house because they think the house is cursed.
I don't remember that, but that's pretty funny.
Oh, and I gotta say, Rob Reiner is in Dickie Roberts as himself. And the whole thing is Spade wants to get a role from Rob Reiner, right?
Hmm.
And part of the setup is that David Spade is like valeting cars, and he gets in a fight with a guy driving like a Volkswagen Beetle or something at one point. And he's watching on the news later. He was driving Rob Reiner's car when he got in the fight. Rob Reiner gets attacked by the guy and ends up in the hospital.
I think I remember that.
Dickie Roberts gets a reading for the role because his agent, John Lovitz, gives Rob Reiner one of his kidneys.
See, that sounds funny. That sounds funnier than I remember it being.
It's funnier to describe than it probably is in the movie.
Yeah.
It's also that thing of Rob Reiner. I just remember the news being like, Rob Reiner is quoted as saying, "I had no idea what I did to anger that man."
Rob Reiner is a really funny comedic actor.
He really is. I think that he's bringing back Spinal Tap.
I heard that too. I don't know. Probably gonna come back as like an NFT or some bullshit.
Yeah, probably.
But,
that is one of those ones though I feel like could work because it's not like any of those guys have really lost their talent, you know.
Yeah.
Honestly, the biggest question there is Rob Reiner. Like,
I will go to bat for Rob Reiner.
I will go to bat to Rob Reiner in the 80s and 90s. But when was the last time Rob Reiner made a good movie?
Well,
now he is in Wolf of Wall Street and is great in it.
He's fucking fantastic. He's also Zooey Deschanel's dad in the New Girl show.
Oh, you know what? You keep telling me to watch it, and then I just don't.
There's some fucking incredible guest stars in that show.
Mm-hmm.
The show definitely gets tired by the end, but like, oh my God, he's so fucking great. He's just this depressed, divorced old man. And then he shows up on Thanksgiving and he runs into his ex-wife, her mom, played by Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible. And he's like, you know what I'm thankful for today? Divorce.
Holy shit.
That's his opening line to the series. It's incredible.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what do you think of Spade? I just went on like a Spade tangent, but
Spade is fine. I think he's fine. I like him in this, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I think he needs someone to bounce off of, or someone crazier to bounce off of him, rather. Because his like kind of just generic energy, his like goody two shoes energy here is perfect for Farley to just go like bananas over.
Yeah, you know, it's also I gotta say, like, I think it says a lot if you can be used good in an animated movie. He's terrific in Emperor's New Groove, David Spade.
Oh yeah,
like he's like, that movie doesn't work if it's someone else, you know.
Face.
Now he is a white guy voicing an Incan prince. But
yes, that should be acknowledged.
It's early 2000s Disney. Unfortunately, that shit hung around for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, Goodman's the other guy. And that's another one where it's like Goodman's. I wonder what would have happened if Farley was still alive, if it was just like, let's just do Tommy Boy, but as an animated film. Like, it could have worked.
God bless Chris Farley. Goodman's
terrific, but I'm just saying Farley could have worked as Pacha. That's all I'm saying. Okay. It would have been a different Pacha, but I think it would have worked. There would have been a lot more of Pacha like falling down a hill, you know?
Yeah, like, well, they do fall off a waterfall.
Yeah, but that, I think only Spade yells something in that. Like Farley would have been like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
You know what? There is also, like, again, not a great movie, but in Black Sheep, there's this in Black Sheep. Again, if you wanted to showcase Farley's just, and I don't want to just focus on the pratfall stuff because he's great at like all types of comedy, but there's a scene in Black Sheep that is just him falling down a hill for like 5 minutes. Like, it's just like he stops the fall for like a second and like stands up and thinks he's good, and then he just falls again. Like, it just keeps going and he just sells it.
Well, see, that I like that kind of comedy, and I'm realizing it now as I'm getting older that I miss it so much.
Yeah,
because now it's like, and I've heard this from like people in the industry, like, when you make a comedy now, it's like, well, who's going to be funny in it? And it's like they don't really care about like the writing. It's like, oh, you got Aquafina. She's funny. And it's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. But like, I have like this idea. And it's like, well, no one's gonna want to make that, you
No,
know?
I think you're hitting the nail right on that because I think what happens with a lot of comedy guys, especially as they get big, and this is true when Tommy Boy was made, and this is true. This goes all the way back to Belushi too. There was a great documentary about Belushi recently, and he gave an interview, I think with Gene Shalit in it, and he's really bitter about the movies he's being offered, Belushi, and he's like, it's like, yeah, I get Bluto in space, I get Bluto in the White House, I get Bluto in the army. Like he's like so annoyed that it's like they just want him to be Bluto from Animal House in different situations, right?
Yeah.
And it's this thing of like these studios are clearly sitting on comedy scripts. They're like, the script's not good, but if we put Belushi in it, it will make money, you know? And Belushi will just inherently make it funnier, which is true, but that's not how you make a good movie.
Yeah.
And you see the same thing out with Farley, where like the next movie is just like, all right, we have this script, let's put Farley in it. And then like Beverly Hills Ninja, it's just like, what if Chris Farley was a ninja, you know?
Yeah.
And we probably, again, if Farley had lived, we probably would have gotten more of that as opposed to more Tommy Boy, which I think the story with Tommy Boy is it was written, like it was a comedy script just sitting around at Paramount for a while. Lorne Michaels gets a hold of it and goes like, this would be great for Farley for his first post Saturday Night Live leading role. But the thing you read about, if you read anything about the movie, if you listen to commentaries, which inexplicably exist on the DVD, if you watch that, they were basically given a lot of time to just improvise, not like improvise comedy, but like build the movie. Like they rebuilt the movie as they were filming it. And a lot of gags that happen in it are like stuff that just Farley and Spade were doing behind the scenes. Like the housekeeping, there's this bit where like Fade starts knocking on his door being like, housekeeping, and Farley's trying to sleep and just starts yelling at him. And it was apparently something Spade did to Farley like every morning while they were filming.
Oh.
And someone had the bright idea of being like, look, it's a road movie, just put it in the movie. And I think it was given a lot more space. And they kind of talk about Farley really worked hard on this movie and like wanted to make it good, and it bombed. Like didn't bomb, but it didn't make a lot of money. And then he does Black Sheep, and like he even admittedly is like he phoned it in on that one, and Black Sheep did basically as well as Tommy Boy did, and that kind of broke him. Like a lot of the narratives with Farley are like he was so heartbroken by like, I put all this effort into one movie and I did shit work in another, and they both did about as well. And it's like, why even bother trying at this point? And they talk about that like really affecting him. And it's a shame. And I think, yeah, you got to, I don't know. Like, I can't talk comedy. Like, I don't know what the answer is, but it is the thing of like studios just go like, yeah, put Aquafina in it, you know, Aquafina in space, like whatever. Like it's real short. It happened to Farrell too. Remember when Farrell like was getting big, and suddenly it's like, what if Farrell's a fucking soccer coach? What if Farrell is in basketball now? Like they just did that with every Will Ferrell movie for a while.
Yeah,
and it was bad. And it's not that Will Ferrell isn't funny. It's just that the studios, they aren't thinking about these scripts anymore. They're just like, put someone funny in it and they'll make it funny.
Yeah, like at the time of this recording, like, I just shared this piece about Alien 3's 30th anniversary, and it's like it's still shocking to me that like that wasn't the first movie that was a release date first, production second, but that's just the only way we make stuff now, and it's getting like worse.
Yeah,
and it's not just the big stuff anymore. Now it's like every movie now, apart from like the genuinely independently funded and produced stuff. It's like, oh, well, we'll get this person's popular, this TikToker's popular. There's nothing against TikTokers. That's a whole other bag, and like entirely. These kids are doing what they can to make money. I have no ill will towards them. It's about the business practices that are like, well, they'll be the stars now. And it's like, no, it's just easier for these companies to like manipulate them.
Maybe that's why the bubble didn't work.
Oh my god, I forget. Like we talked about that, like
Yeah,
not on the podcast, but we're just like, what the fuck happened?
yeah.
We
But
talked about it off mic, and we're just like, what the fuck?
the
All
bubble
those
was
people
like,
are so talented.
yeah, and it's like almost got its finger on the pulse, which is what's so weird about it. Like it's like so close but no cigar, but the fact that they missed like destroys the whole movie. And I think part of it is that it's trying to be a satire without actually being critical of the industry, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't seem to actually understand like why bad movies get made. And it's just like, aren't bad movies dumb, is what it ends up saying.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
like,
is it,
yeah, I guess, but like,
yeah, it's so weird. And it's so weird that it came from him because he's not like he has his thing, he knows comedy. Like I assumed he would understand like when studios are being stupid and why, but I guess not. So what a weird movie that one was.
yeah, it feels like we haven't had a genuinely great satire in a while.
Yeah, that's
Um,
I think that stuff's just not gonna happen because like you can't satirize what's happening right now, and there's no everything's too divided at this point.
I
And I
forget
think
if I talked about it on here before, but I saw the David. Who the fuck is the guy from the X-Files? David Duchovny.
David Duchovny, yeah,
David Duchovny. He was in this movie about like the production of Freaks and Geeks. It was like a based on a true story, but also kind of based on Freaks and Geeks. Let me see what it was called. I liked it, and it's not a home run movie.
Mhm.
But I think it kind of it was something that understood that you can go into something with the best intentions, but just given the way that like the power dynamics of this industry like are held,
Mhm.
that you could go in with something with the best crew, the best intentions, and it could turn out to just be like a gag at the end of like some production reel to highlight like for
Yeah.
investors.
Mhm.
And your heart and soul is like nothing. And I
I
don't know,
think
it was a
it's
really cynical movie, and I was like, this is like good, but why is it like not better? the
mhm.
TV set, the TV set. Yeah, it's not
Okay.
a great movie, but it was like,
I didn't even know that existed.
yeah, it's directed by Jake Kasdan, my boy,
Oh,
who
okay.
also worked on some New Girl stuff and did our favorite movie, Walk Hard.
Yeah, there's a guy with a weird career.
Yeah, it's like,
Uh,
the TV set's like interesting. Walk Hard's a masterpiece, and then after that, well,
what are
you
you
know,
gonna
I'm
do?
always gonna like Walk Hard. So
What are you gonna do?
yeah.
Um, oh God, I had a point to make, and now I can't remember what it was.
Sorry,
Oh,
yeah, I just
no,
I
no,
needed to bring that up because
no.
I just yeah.
I think it's this thing of like right now with the way art is, and it sucks. I think it's one of those things where like the studios aren't going to be the one to turn it around. You know, like I think
Yeah,
it's going to be
yeah.
something where the thing that will finally turn it around is going to be when you actually can make a movie in your backyard for like $10,000. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like when you can actually do like a feature length movie, and that's like still a ways off, but
It's
it's what's that quote? Someone said this and I can't remember, and I'm gonna get the quote probably wrong, but it's like movies won't be true art until the resources are as cheap as like a pencil and a paper, you know,
mm-hmm.
like that, like anyone can just draw because that's all it takes.
Yeah.
But until movies get that, like we're still gonna be beholden to these fucking major corporations. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. We
Yeah.
always seem to go back to this that everything's just fucked up with the movie industry.
It is fucked up, but like I don't know. I don't think it's as far off as it might seem. It definitely seems far off right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's coming, and I think it has to come soon. Not
Mhm.
just otherwise I'll lose my mind, but like I think it just has to,
When I
right?
watch
Like
when I watch a lot of this stuff that is being done independently on YouTube, like I'm kind of like fascinated about like this might be the future of stuff. Like
mhm.
it, I think we'll get there one day. I think we have to stop caring about how great it looks sometimes, but yeah, I don't know. That's a whole other discussion, and I'm sure it'll come up again like 30,000 times
Yeah,
as
yeah.
we do this series. But hey, speaking of corporations, you know what's weird about Tommy Boy? It's on our failed Blockbuster show. It made 32 million on a $20 million budget. Uh, Made by Paramount Pictures. I believe to this day, Tommy Boy is still in the top 5 of home video sales for Paramount.
Really?
Yeah, it was one of those movies.
Whoa.
Yeah, like once it hit home video, it was like massive. And I think on top of that, I think Farley's death made people go back and like want to reappreciate his work. And Tommy Boy just became like, that's the one to watch. So it became like the only real item of his career, you know?
Wow, good for him in
Yeah.
passing. I also remember after the Adam Sandler special with his really heartwarming tribute to his buddy Chris Farley, Tommy Boy made it up in like the rentals and like the digital like purchase space too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like people liked Chris Farley and he still got a reputation, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
It's funny. It's funny seeing. It feels like every few years a new generation discovers who the fuck Chris Farley was. Like it feels like every few years suddenly like A Man Down by the River is like funny again. Or the big one that got big during quarantine was the have you seen this clip? The Chris Farley greatest entrance of all time. Have you seen that clip?
Oh yeah, he fucking
it's him on Letterman just like
crowd.
running through and he's like he tackles like he throws the one guy into like a trash can or something like
Yeah.
it's just him going ape shit like
Yeah.
it like that got like big again. People were like, who the fuck is this guy? And it's like it's Chris Farley, man. Like
Hey, I just need a minute.
yeah. I think he might have been promoting Tommy Boy on that episode.
Oh,
which might be the wild thing. His stuff on Letterman is great. Like, if you ever find some like Farley interviews on Letterman, because he clearly like loves Letterman, it almost turns into the Chris Farley show. Like, but it's be like, you remember when you did that? It's like that was great. He tells a story, and again, I think this ties in because it says a lot about Farley, and it says a lot about the character they had him play in Tommy Boy. That he just started working at SNL, and you had to get like ID to get into Rockefeller Center, right? Like you had to get like a special ID, and Farley lost his. And in a panic, he's like, "Security's been breached. Like I've compromised all of Rockefeller Center." And he's like. And he said in like his mind, he's like, word's going to get to Letterman because Letterman was still at NBC at the time. And Letterman was going to be like, who's this jackass at SNL who fucked up security? And it seemed really it's really funny. Oh man. God bless Farley.
Yeah.
Did you see the documentary they did on him?
No, I haven't.
I Am Chris. It's really good. They talk about it's more just like going over his career and having people talk about him, but Bob Odenkirk is in it because Bob Odenkirk was at Second City with Farley. And I believe Odenkirk wrote Motivational Speaker with Farley.
Oh.
So it's like their character. And according to Farley, it's like partly based on his father too. Like that's how his father would talk when he would get angry. And, there's a fucking scene. It devastates me every time I see it. Like where you get to the end of the documentary and like, you know, everyone is trying to do like, you know, Farley was great. Like we all love him. Let's try to keep the good times going in remembrance of Farley. And they go to Odenkirk and he's like, Farley was a magical guy and I loved him and I loved everything about him. And he said, but there's a limit. And he goes, and that limit is when you kill yourself with drugs and alcohol. And he goes, that's when it stops being so fucking magical. And I think about that line all the fucking time of just like how much he had, like how much of his troubles were kind of tied up with his own persona, you know, of just him being like this big kid. Like he felt like he had to be that guy all the time. And it like drove him. And the thing about fucking Tommy Boy for me is he really didn't need to go like, when he goes big, he's hysterical. But even when he's quiet in a movie like this, he's hysterical, you know? Yeah. Like there's brief moments of him just like kind of being like he says something stupid or it's just, there's moments with him that I'm like, he could have been, he didn't have to be. I think there's stories like he used to call up Jay Moore on SNL, like drunk, like in his last days. And he'd be like, they want me to fucking fall down in the movies, like fatty fall down. Like he was like really self-conscious about how many people just wanted him to do that stuff. And you wish you could just like tell him like he's so much funnier than just that, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think the look on his face when he writes Herbie Hancock as one of the guys who signed the Declaration of Independence. I mean, oh my God, he's so confident too. John Hancock. It's Herbie Hancock. Oh God. Do you want to talk about what the movie's about?
Oh yeah, we haven't done that. So it's about what's Tommy's last name? Callahan.
Tommy Callahan.
Yeah, Callahan.
The third.
What's the business called? Callahan Auto.
It's Callahan Auto. They sell brake pads.
Yeah. And he's a washed up college graduate after being at college for like,
you know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors.
Oh, there you go. But he was not a doctor.
No,
he just did that. This is a recurring thing with studio comedies from this era also, because this is also the plot to Van Wilder minus the brake pad stuff, mind you.
Yeah.
I don't know why the 7 years thing with the specific note that they're not going to be doctors. That's why the movies throw it like as like a big negative connotation, when really like who gives a shit now. But at the time it was definitely like, why are you going to school so long?
Yeah,
you know, and now we're all just like, who gives a shit? Do whatever you want. No one cares anymore.
But he finally graduates college because he got a D+ on the history exam.
Good for you, Tom.
Where he wrote Herbie Hancock.
But he also can't do anything else. So his dad, Brian Dennehy,
one
of the goats of classic cinema,
and perfect casting. You could totally buy that Brian Dennehy is his dad.
Like, oh yeah, like more so than just like their big guy shapes and forms. But like, I don't know. I that was great.
Yeah,
I did not know that going into this that he was in this. So he gives his son a job at the family business.
Yes, he does. Okay. No, you're right. No, you're on the right. I mean, it's he's the classic, like he's a rich kid, right? Like he grew up rich. He's never really had to grow up, is the thing. Is he's allowed to kind of be, that's why people go to college for 7 years because they can afford to go to college for 7 years. Like not a lot of us can. But his dad was willing to pay it. Never kind of like, he never had to face consequences of something, because his dad loved him. And it's not like a thing portrayed of like his dad like babied him or anything. It's not like his dad was a bad person. It's just he didn't have to. So his dad like gives him a job, and it's kind of like, oh, he's just going to coast on this for the rest of his life. His dad's getting remarried to Bo Derek is his new wife. Bo Derek has a son played by Rob Lowe. Did you know Rob Lowe was in this?
I did not. There was a lot of surprises in this movie.
He's really good as just a horrible asshole in this.
I'm not saying nothing.
I gotta say, it's kind of funny that like there's almost like 3 setups for different comedies like in the opening of this movie. It's like Tommy Boy in college, and it's like, nope, that's not what the movie's about. And it's like, oh, Tommy Boy's like, his dad's getting married. There's going to be a wedding. It's like, nope, that's not what the movie's about. Oh, he's got a new brother who's like kind of not like, he's like the exact opposite of him. It's like, that's not what the movie's about.
Yeah. And you know what? Usually I kind of hate that stuff. Like where I'm like, just fucking pick an opening,
Yeah.
But I kind of liked it here.
No, you know why it fucking works here? And this is what these other fucking comedies don't do, is that it's about Tommy Boy has to grow up is the thing, like it's a movie about that. So when you look at the movie through that lens, all this plate setting works,
Yeah, maybe that's it.
That's why it works. I mean, it's something that it's why a lot of Adam Sandler movies don't work. Sandler wants to be the man child, but also doesn't want to like be portrayed as a fool, Like Sandler wants to be the cool guy, but he wants to be the man child. So like a lot of the time in a Sandler movie, it's like society's problem,
Yeah.
And you talk about like Billy Madison, which I like, and Little Nicky, which is a bad movie. But they take the skeleton of this movie, like in both movies are about him kind of having to step up, but they don't have the heart that this movie has. And I think that movie, the twist in this fucking movie is that fucking like 20 minutes in, Brian Dennehy dies of a heart attack. And it's not played for laughs.
Yeah, no, it's like a legitimate dramatic moment.
Yeah, and there's I gotta say, there's a fucking fantastic transition shot of they're all like, they rush in to surround Brian Dennehy after he collapses, and you think they're all looking at him on the ground, and they pan out and you realize that they're fucking at his fucking funeral. Like, what's that doing in this movie?
Well, that is director Peter Siegel.
I know. The director of Anger Management made this.
Well, that's his trademark transition piece. I don't know if that's true at all. He also did 50 First Dates, which I still like.
Yeah,
and The Longest Yard, which we'll get to.
But there's nothing in those movies that is like...
No, not a single fucking thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, I almost feel bad. I'm like, maybe, like, I mean, I'm sure Siegel's getting paid very nicely, but it's like, maybe if like they let him like stretch a little bit with his comedy so he could do more.
Yeah, maybe. Siegel is also directing on the Michael Waldron created show Heels. Have you heard of that?
Nope.
It's on Stars. It's about it's a wrestling show. It's a fictional wrestling show starring Stephen Amell and Alexander Ludwig. It's supposed to be very good.
Okay, good for him.
Yeah.
But there's a really funny comedy shot in this movie. It's like one of the like few like out and out visual gags where Dennehy is giving the speech to all the guys, and they're like, look, we maybe we should go in with like a bigger conglomerate to sell these new brake pads. And he's like, no, this has always been a family company. And he's walking by the wall and he's like, my grandfather started it. And it looks just like him. And he's like, my father took it over during the Depression. And then it's like, my Aunt Eileen took over and it looks just like him. And then someday my son will run it. And that's when Farley shows up in the door. Like, that's a great visual. Like, that's funny. And like, again, there's nothing like that in another Peter Siegel movie.
No, I don't know why. Well, you know what? No, there is one moment in 50 First Dates, which is a fucking hysterical sight gag. It's when it's towards the end when Drew Barrymore has forgotten who Adam Sandler is. And you see her paintings, and then one of them is just him, but with an egg instead of a head.
Yeah, there is that.
That's
I was going to say,
amazing.
The other fun visual gag in that movie is when the one guy is like, in the past 5 years, I became governor of Hawaii. And then they zoom out.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, just kidding. I'm too smart. Like, that's a pretty good one. That's a pretty funny one.
That's a good movie.
But yeah, but like, again, like I said, in the like 20 minutes in, Brian Dennehy fucking dies. And it's not like, I can just see the modern version of this, right? Which is like, he dies at his wedding, which is a little like contrived, like it's a weird, like, oh, he dies while dancing, and like he does an impromptu musical number with his son, which is more just like cute, but then he like fucking dies of a heart attack at the end of it. And the worst movie would be like, oh, he had a heart attack because he was like in a hot dog eating contest or something, like they would have tried to make the heart attack another gag, right?
Yeah.
And that would have been and that's a fucking mistake. And it's great that the movie fucking stops for a minute, and it's like, no, we're gonna watch Chris Farley be upset that his dad died. Like, we get like a good sequence of him just kind of like, there's a whole scene of him like leaving the funeral. He stays, everyone else is gone, like he doesn't know where to go now that the fucking funeral's over. And it's like, you get the sense like this, he really is like a big kid in all the best and worst ways. And it's just him, like he just goes to the factory, it's empty now, and it's just him by himself. It's honestly like very poignant for this type of movie.
Yeah, I think that's really true. Most things will not like slow down for this. Like, I'm seeing a lot of like discussions online, especially too. It's like, what kind of movies do you prefer? Do you prefer the quirky like comedies, or like the serious dramas with your blockbusters or whatever? And it's like, you used to be able to just do it all.
Yeah.
In a movie. Tommy Boy is a comedy, but you can have like drama in a comedy. That's what a narrative is,
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think this thing is like, it's just something where like, if you could describe this movie as like, what's Tommy Boy about? And it's like, it's about a guy who has to grow up, That's what Tommy Boy's about. And there's so few comedies that you could just give it that one sentence thing that isn't like, what I was pitching earlier, which is Chris Farley as a ninja, Yeah. It's like, that's the one sentence pitch of that movie.
Yeah, and those types of movies also have like their merits. They're the high concept movie, quote unquote.
you can have value, you can just stuff them with gags, but it should just be that, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And I think it's why, you know, even like, again, like Billy Madison, a movie, I think we both liked Billy Madison when we saw it.
Yeah, I like it.
But
like
that's
it more
a movie
now in hindsight. I'm like, fuck it, I didn't know how good I had it.
but it's a thing where it's like Adam Sandler goes back to school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the movie. That movie really isn't about Billy needs to grow up. It's, even though that happens in it, but it's not what that movie's about. Even in the end of the movie, he gives the speech about the puppy who lost his way, and it's like no, he's still an idiot. Like, he just learned to not to, I don't know what he learns at the end of that fucking movie. He decides to be a teacher, but hey.
Let's see what else. Oh, the film is dedicated to Greg Fonseca, who passed away 8 months before the release of Tommy Boy, and both Tommy Boy and Wes Craven's New Nightmare were dedicated to the late Greg Fonseca.
He was a production designer on Nightmare on Elm Street films and Coneheads.
And both Wayne Worlds.
Oh yeah,
Wayne's Worlds, excuse me.
That's good. That's, you know, it's funny to think that that guy worked on both movies.
Yeah.
Although Coneheads inexplicably like turns into a science fiction epic in the last like 10 minutes. It's that classic, like,
just like Tommy Boy, you know.
Yeah, it's that classic Dan Aykroyd doesn't know how to control himself.
No, I'll fucking tell you what was the most surprising fucking thing to me in this entire film. It wasn't any of the Killer Cast cameos. It wasn't Dan Aykroyd, who plays President Zelensky or whatever.
Yeah, Ray Zelensky, the auto parts king.
Yeah. The same name as the Ukrainian president.
Oh yeah.
That was not a joke. That was a joke I was making,
I totally forgot that was the Ukrainian president's name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, maybe it's not fine. Nothing's fine, but you know,
nothing's fine.
It's when Tommy Boy teams up with David Spade and Julie Warner to fucking hold a building hostage.
Oh,
so he can save his workers' jobs with the bomb vest. He's like, oh, it's just road flares.
Well, yeah, here's like, that is like the one moment in the movie where it's like, okay, like
I was like, whoa, like it just there's a lot of stuff that doesn't age like perfectly well. And I'm not even saying I disliked that event in the film. I was just like, whoa, the notes from the studio that would come down nowadays.
Yeah. Well, look, here's like, it kind of bugs, like my one note I would give the movie if I was the studio head, if you're going to do the suicide bomber bit, just be like, this is how you got past security. Like, you didn't go on the news claiming to be a bomber. Like, at that point, like, nothing makes sense.
Yeah, no,
like,
he's going to prison.
Yeah, like, it's the one moment in the movie where it's like, okay, it turns into like it really goes ridiculous 90s comedy for a second. But like, I think one of the best gags in the movie is when they're trying to find Dan Aykroyd initially, and they're like, all right, you check the elevators, I'll check the bank. And Farley runs into the bank and he's looking around, can't see anyone. And he's like, where's he's like, listen up, this will only take a second. And they're like, it's a holdup. And everyone panics and thinks he's robbing the bank. And the guards immediately like give him his guns and he's like, oh Jesus, and he just runs away. That's one of my favorite gags in the movie. Oh my God. That's the thing. All right, so I just gotta say, so the real plot of this movie is that his father dies. He now has basically controlling shares of the company. The company's in dire straits because they're about to launch the new brake pad division, right? Mm-hmm. Which again, like, that's another thing that a fucking bad comedy now, it would be like, they're not breaking brake pads, they're making some stupid device, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it works in Punch Drunk Love when he's making fungers, right? Like, that's a dumb thing. But every comedy would be like, we got to turn the actual product they're selling into a gag. And it's like, no, this movie's like, it's going to be brake pads, which is a real thing. Like, it's totally tangible. It's like, we took out too much of a loan from the bank for the brake pad things. If we don't sell enough brake pads by a certain point, they're going to pull our loan. And then we're going to have the factory's going under, and we're going to have to sell. And so Tommy has to go on the road and do his dad's sales trip, even though he's never done it before. And that's the plot of the movie, basically, is he has to sell a certain number of brake pads by a certain date to keep the company afloat. And that's the movie.
And
There
it
is,
turns out to be a pretty good one.
yeah, I do like the scene in the movie where Farley, it's great where Farley's like, instantly, they're like, look, what do we like? We got to keep the company afloat for a little bit. Farley's like, look, I'll put up all my savings and I'll put up my house as collateral. Like, so it's not just saving the company. He's going to be out on the streets if he doesn't keep this going, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the whole town's going to go under. Like, the whole community's tied up in this. Like, because the opening scene when he's driving through Sandusky, they pass by all the other auto plants that have just closed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And again, not played for laughs. Oh my God. I don't know.
I think there's like a genuine, like, this is something no one talks about really, except for us, apparently. I'm sure people do, but like,
yeah,
when talking about these movies specifically, it feels very rare to bring this up, but like, there's almost like a working class angle to this. And it's just like, that's not something that's very common in movies at all right now.
I mean, the whole thing is like, we meet Dan Aykroyd. This whole thing is like, I make car parts for the American working man because that's who I am and that's what I care about. And then he says to Farley where he's like, I don't believe any of that.
Yeah, like he's bullshitting.
Yeah, and then that's when Farley uses it against him when he goes. It's actually, I like the ending where it's like he goes in and he's like, I want you to buy 500,000 brake pads to save Callahan Auto to help the American working man. And Aykroyd agrees to it because Aykroyd's like, well, I'm about to buy the company, so it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So he's like, what the hell? And then the twist is like, actually, all of Bo Derek and what's his face, like their controlling stake in the company is false, so they can't actually sell the company because the marriage was never legal. And so he pulls. It's a nice fast one that he pulls on Aykroyd, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tommy Boy was a good guy.
Yeah, I like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any like gags I just want to talk about specifically. Also, I want one thing I'll just say before we get into anything specific. You know what this movie is really lacking, that like when the Happy Madison thing finally takes over, that like just becomes ever present. There's nothing really hateful in this movie.
Yeah.
Like there are no gags at like someone's expense for being
there is the R slur on the airplane.
Oh yeah, he does do that.
Yeah, David Spade does that.
I mean, that's just like dated comedy, and it's more just like him making fun of. It's more just David Spade being an asshole.
Oh yeah, it's not directed at anyone specifically, but it is the one moment where I was like, damn it.
We do make light of Farley's weight occasionally.
Oh yeah,
you know, but Farley's the protagonist, so like even if we laugh, like, you know, we're still on his side ultimately. And at most, there's the one bald joke with David Spade.
Oh
where
yeah,
it turns out he's bald, which is a weird thing to just throw in the third act.
Yeah.
You know, the scene I think about a lot in this movie, though. I think about it whenever shit's like not working out for me in my life. There's the scene where like they get thrown out of the Dan Aykroyd's building, and Tommy Boy realizes like his own family's betrayed him for this deal, and he's sitting on the sidewalk and he's like listing off all the stuff that's gone wrong, and then the bench just collapses, and he just sits there. He doesn't even react. He just sits there and just goes, could have done without that. I think about that all the time. You know who gets like the most like kind of ridiculous comedy happening at him is Rob Lowe. Like Rob Lowe, he accidentally pisses on like a generator and gets electrocuted.
Yeah.
He gets attacked by a dog. Like he gets more of the like really ridiculous comedy aimed at him.
Well, I mean, one of the opening gags with him and Chris Farley is when they go cow tipping, but he doesn't really get anything there. That's really more Farley.
He trips, and then Farley's like, "I'll save you, brother." Yeah. He's like, "Get off me!" He's like, "I love you." It's so good. I do like, even though this is one of those things where it's like only white people could get away with this, when he does the bees in the car bit with the cops.
Yeah.
Like if like a black person tried that, they would just get shot. But it's, hey, that's America.
Yeah.
We could either fix the police or just accept that as a fact. But
I think we should fix it.
fix it into the river.
Yeah. Send the
Anyway,
police down to a van by the river.
down the van, down by the river. But when he's yelling and the bees are attacking him, and he yells, "Your firearms are useless against them." Oh my god. Oh, and the deer in the car is a great bit. I like that they hit the deer. They don't know what to do. Like that does seem like a stupid like panicked move of like, let's just put the deer in the car.
Oh yeah,
and take it somewhere, and then it wakes
deer,
up.
Yeah, the deer waking up is hysterical.
That's a genuinely, and it's one of those ones where it's like they set it up and it goes off later. Like you don't really think that you're not like immediately thinking that's going to happen. When it kind of reminds me of the like recurring swan gag in Hot Fuzz. Where the swan definitely has done a little better, but I mean it's similar here. Also, I was watching behind the scenes because also if you got Tommy Boy on DVD, it's one of those DVDs that's like stuffed with special features. Because again, it's one of the highest selling home video movies of all time.
Oh.
And they interviewed Peter Siegel in it, and he said the hardest shot in the movie was getting the deer standing on top of the car.
That's what I was curious about, because that shit, like, the deer looks pretty good when it's fake in the car. It looks pretty good for a movie of this budget. And then, like, how do they do that?
It's a real deer on the car. When it stands on it, like the rest is fake, of course. They had to take the car out to a field and cover it in deer urine and then just wait for a deer to climb on top of it. So like second unit guys just being out there at night waiting for a deer, and they had to have the lights off, and then they had to turn the lights on and get the shot really quickly, and then the deer would run off. That's how they did that shot.
That's amazing.
I know. That's why the angle is kind of tipped up so you don't see that they're in a field.
That makes sense, yeah.
I also like that Spade's car just keeps getting more and more destroyed throughout the movie.
Oh.
To the point when they're trying to get on the plane at the end, the guy's like, "Hey, you can't park here," and he's just like, "Keep it."
Yeah, this is a hearty recommendation for the failed blockbusters.
Yeah, it's a good comedy. I love it. I give it 5 stars on Letterboxd, but I'm guessing for the average person, it's going to be like a 3-star comedy. You know, you could do a lot worse at night picking a movie like Tommy Boy.
Yeah, no, I think this one is going to continue to age well just because like the type of comedy it is. Like it feels like a lost art almost. Because
the type of comedy, and it's like really the only like top to bottom good Farley document, you know? Like there isn't like there are moments in his other comedies I like, but there's nothing top to bottom as good as Tommy Boy. So it's worth it just for that. And yeah, I love this movie. Hearty recommendation. I have to agree. I don't know why Roger Ebert gave it 1 star. Like I understand the guy not liking it, but
well, didn't he call fucking Little Nicky the best Adam Sandler movie?
Yeah, he did. He's so weird. But Ebert and Siskel really had it out for Farley while he was alive.
Oh,
like they really didn't like him. I think Siskel made the claim that Black Sheep was like the first movie he walked out of in 30 years as a critic or something like that.
Jesus.
Yeah. And yeah, it's sad. And you know what? I kind of like fucking Black Sheep's not a movie I would go to. Black Sheep is oddly a movie about like Hillary Clinton, I think. Like the villain of the movie is kind of Hillary Clinton.
Oh, so it was ahead of its time.
A little bit, but it's about her like stealing the election. I rewatched it recently because I just wanted to watch more Farley stuff. And it's like, it was weird watching a movie where it's like Farley uncovers that like a bunch of dead people voted for the Hillary Clinton type character. And it's just like, it's weird watching right now when you have people who actually believe that about Joe Biden, you know? And it's like, no. Dead people didn't vote for Joe Biden. We voted for a dead guy.
Oh. Well, listen here, Jack.
Oh,
We're a capitalist country.
yeah, that's gonna go over well with the young voters.
Yeah. It's good that the Democrats keep saying that. That's what we really want to hear right now.
Yeah. Well,
Keep
look,
saying it.
you know what? I might actually want them to keep saying it because they're never going like because they're never going. That's capitalism. It makes people work hard, like
Uh-huh.
they're like, hey, why can't babies get baby formula? They will die without it. And then they go, that's capitalism. And I'm like, they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
Yeah, keep saying it.
Keep saying it.
Let the people know.
Well, Farley did exactly 100 episodes, Saturday Night Live.
Wow. It's pretty good.
Good for him. God bless Farley.
I'd do an episode of Saturday Night Live.
What?
I would do an episode of Saturday Night Live.
I would not.
No.
No.
I would be a fun guest, I think. I'd be a fun host.
What are you gonna play Wario?
No, I would kill myself live on television and change the trajectory of everyone's lives who watched.
That kind of would be amazing. The ultimate Joker trick. You don't shoot the host, you shoot yourself.
Oh yeah, no, I would never harm another human being. Except myself.
You go on TV and you go, this is dedicated to the brave Mujahideen fighters of Afghanistan, and then shoot yourself on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
They'll put it in the vault where they put what's her name burning the picture of the Pope or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Oops, turned out she was right.
Shout out to Lorne Michaels, who's never made any mistakes with who he brought onto that show.
Yeah. That's a dude that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, suck my dick, Lorne Michaels. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. We're just rambling at this point.
Wow, Lorne Michaels is 77.
How the fuck is he still alive?
They say he's grooming his successor, but I don't know who it's gonna be.
I mean, that's the problem with a lot of these old fuckers. This is the last thing, and then we'll sign off. But like, that's a lot of the problems with these guys. Is like, no, this is the way we run things, and then like they try to hand it off to a successor, and it's like, no, this was not sustainable, even with you in charge, because you're gonna die.
You know what though? He is one of the few like actual kingmakers of late night television. Like he is the one who goes like Conan O'Brien should take over for Letterman. Like that's him. He signs off on that. He's the reason Jimmy Fallon's goes to the Tonight Show. Like we don't like Jimmy Fallon, but he's been a successful late night talk show host, and he's Seth Meyers.
Yeah,
like he does have that touch for whatever reason. So maybe he knows who should take over.
Hey, he's the guy,
Not that it matters. Like I'm not exactly rooting for. Here's the thing. Like SNL sucks, right? But would you be sad if it went away?
No.
I do think I might be a little sad. Like even though I hate it, like I think there's something like I like knowing that it's out there.
I think we're getting very accustomed to things that like we take for granted. So maybe I will if it went away. But I think right now there's a lot of like the media conglomerates that are trying to establish like legacy stuff, like people want the Marvel stuff to be like SNL or like other franchise like I like IP shit to just be like cultural touchstones that are always going to be there, and I do that. So maybe that's why like my immediate reaction was like no.
Yeah,
but I think you have a point. If it went away, I'd be like, oh, that was kind of a bummer. Like it had good stuff coming out of it, even in its worst eras right now.
Yeah. They got to stop having politicians on. That'd be my one thing. But it's like, I don't know. It might be, SNL might be just kind of worth it for like the 3 skits a year that are actually okay. Like they seem to drop like, because when I don't know what it is, like SNL's mostly bad, but when they do hit, like they hit like really well. It's kind of wild. Like the papyrus skit. That might be one of the funniest. That might be one of the funniest things ever made, honestly. Like,
yeah.
But like, I don't remember any other skit from that episode.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's the one where like he starts laughing during it, but that's I only remember it because he starts laughing. It's not like the actual bit was funny.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. It might be one of those things where Saturday Night Live is just such a like insular community now. I'm kind of like anti-comedy lately though too, because the comedy community sucks so hard these days. Of just
Well,
like
no,
they,
you can't make jokes anymore.
yeah, and it's I can't stand the weird circling of the wagons that comedians do with each other. That like
Hmm.
they don't know how. And like I'm not saying like if someone tells a joke I disagree with or I find offensive. I'm not saying like we should fucking fire them from everything or whatever. But there should be the community should at least know enough to be like we should be critical of each other at least and not just always fall back on we can say whatever we want, which is something a spoiled child falls back on.
Yeah, like
But
what is that?
I don't know.
It's like white privilege maximized,
It's
because
that
I've heard that a lot too. I remember hearing people being like, well, if a comedian goes on stage and they try out jokes, that should be like their domain. That should be like their temple. And I'm like, what the fuck are you
mm,
talking about?
mm,
I don't get that thinking at all either.
mm. I mean, it's different. Like comedy, you gotta let comedy like you gotta let them be able to stretch, right? Like you gotta like
Hmm.
it, if someone tries out a joke, they want to do a touchy subject, it doesn't land. I'm not saying like ruin that guy's career forever, right? But there's a big difference between like that, right? And then
Hmm.
going on air and just saying something openly bigoted. Like there's a big difference. There's a big difference. And a comedian as talented as I'm just going to pick a name out of a hat, Dave Chappelle, should know the difference between those two things, between a risky joke that doesn't land and just being openly bigoted on stage. Because I know that in his life growing up at the comedy clubs, he's definitely seen jokes that he knew either just were jokes that didn't land or jokes that were just bigoted. And if he says he doesn't know what that is, he's lying. And that should be the discussion. There's a big gap between just making jokes and being openly. I don't I don't know how else to explain it. And if you don't know that as a comedian, you shouldn't be a comedian. I mean,
I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume a lot of people should not be comedians.
yeah, but I mean, even talented guys I think are funny. Like usually Dave Chappelle is funny, but he should know the difference between those things.
Hmm.
And it's I don't know. It's frustrating. It's it's a thing like as like right now we're having the whole John Mulaney thing talking about SNL, like
Yeah.
just as the Mulaney Chappelle thing. And Ricky Gervais's new comedy special dropped today, and it's full of more transphobic bullshit. And it's just, I just don't understand the like for one, it's like okay, like we can't. The guys are like Ricky Gervais isn't funny. I don't know what people are talking about with him, but like Chappelle and John Mulaney are genuinely talented and funny. That doesn't mean they're not. They don't have bigoted problems. I don't know. We're very bad at talking about comedy in this country and the world, I'm guessing. And the people that should be leading the charge and talking about comedy better should be comedians, and they're not doing it. They're defending themselves, they're protecting themselves. And part of it might be just because there is no safety net as a comedian. Like, if you fuck up as a comedian, you're just derelict the rest of your life. But,
Yeah.
you know, unless you're John Mulaney and came from a wealthy family. But,
Oh.
um, uh, what was I going to say? But I don't know. It sucks. And so maybe it always that thing sometimes when I'm like kind of glad someone like maybe Farley unfortunately passed early, that like we didn't get to know Farley too well. Like, 'cause I know Farley's family was fairly conservative.
Mm.
And his brother, who's in comedy, has done like a lot of like conservative work out there. So like you never know with stuff like that. But like, well, it would Farley be doing some horrible transphobic bullshit in some movie he was like Tommy Boy 6 or whatever. Like, and like, would I be less likely to come on here and defend Tommy Boy the way I am? But yeah, I don't know. It sucks. Uh,
Well, I think that's unfortunately a good place to leave off on today.
yeah, yeah. Sorry to end on a downer. This movie's funny. And it's not hateful like anything I just discussed. There really is
no. It's good. Would you say the next film we're going to discuss, North, is hateful?
Absolutely.
Really? Oh, okay. Don't
I will
tell me
not.
anything else.
I will not spoil what it is, but what I think is North the same year. North is a year before Tommy Boy. Okay.
North 19. Oh, I was defending Rob Reiner today, and it's a Rob Reiner movie.
You just understand. Yeah, that's partly why I brought Rob Reiner up.
Okay.
So understand, people, when Diego was defending Rob Reiner, he had not seen North yet. So have fun with North, Diego.
Okay. Thanks.
Oh boy. Remember, it is one of Ebert's most hated movies. Like, well, there might be reasons for that.
Where can people find your most hated movies on social media?
I'm at Emperor OTM1 at Twitter.com, and I'm Emperor OTN on Letterboxd. I occasionally post there. I haven't been logging any of my movies lately.
I've been getting better about it again.
Yeah, I kind of only show up when I want to say something, I guess.
Yeah.
Like when I want to defend a movie, like fucking Doctor Strange or something. But
oh yeah, go check out our catch up retrospective.
Where we talked about. Should be out.
It'll be out before this.
I have yet to stop thinking about how much I hated Spider-Man No Way Home. Every day, more hateful thoughts enter my brain.
No, I didn't like it, but like I didn't hate it that much.
It's a disgusting display of just the worst instincts of mankind. I think it might have dethroned Jurassic World for me as the movie.
There's no way.
As just my punching bag.
No, revisiting Jurassic World a couple years back. Just that was one that kind of hurt me.
Jurassic World is likely just worse, but I think Spider-Man should just accidentally be better, and it's not.
Well, at least they said memes on there that we all recognized, and that is what movies are right now.
And when Spider-Man saved that one lady on the bridge, and then there was a bunch of bombs, and then we never hear anything about it.
Is she dead?
Probably.
We don't know. Know.
With great power, Peter, comes great responsibility. So go save this one lady whose life will directly benefit your own.
Yeah, what a bad movie that I didn't hate that much, but it's still bad.
You know how colleges wouldn't want Spider-Man to be at their college? You know, they don't.
Yeah, doesn't that just fucking tell you everything you need to know about who writes these fucking movies?
Yeah,
like the conflict is, he doesn't get into one of the most highly rated schools in the country. Not his friends are in danger because they're friends with him, and everyone knows him now.
Yeah, and if you're at a crossroads and you can go to like a really prestigious college, like unless you're like a genius, like don't take out student loans that are going to bankrupt you for the rest of your life. You'll do fine at like a community college or something, you know.
Yeah,
especially if you're going into the arts.
or like Tommy Boy, you go to school for 7 years. It's okay.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
It's fine.
You do you now. We've broken the system wide open.
I apologize.
You could find my other Spider-Man thoughts.
Yeah, I keep going.
You can find my other Spider-Man thoughts over on Twitter.com and other parts of the Waffle Press, such as YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon, where you can get early access to the next episode, maybe, depending on how we record these. We will see. And like and subscribe if you like this episode. Because if you didn't like and subscribe, you should like and subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We've been professionally unprofessional.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I was trying to think of a Tommy Boy reference, but I got nothing.
I'm a maniac on the floor.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid?
Why?